The wind brushed softly against the windows of the Turner household in Willowdale, a quiet American town where life moved slowly enough for people to notice fading porch lights, the rustle of trees at sunset, and the hush of snow before it touched the ground. Inside that small blue house, 16-year-old Liam Turner sat on the edge of his bed, staring at a blank notebook. The page glowed beneath the warm lamplight, waiting, almost begging for words. He couldn't bring himself to write. It had been 7 months since Liam had last spoken, not because he didn't want to, not because he had nothing to say, but because life sometimes breaks a person in a way others can't see. He hadn't spoken since the accident that took his father's life on a highway just outside the next town. One moment, his father had been driving home to surprise Liam with his favorite chocolate donuts. The next, flashing ambulance lights painted the night red dot. Since that day, silence had followed Liam like a shadow, thick, heavy, unyielding. His mother tried everything: therapy, music, new notebooks, quiet evenings, loud family dinners, but nothing seemed to reach him. Liam didn't feel anger. He didn't feel sadness. He didn't feel anything. Instead, he felt like the world had turned into a muffled room where voices were whispers. Moments were dim, and nothing seemed completely real anymore. But what no one knew was that Liam could still hear something in that silence: faint echoes, fragments of his father's voice in memories. "You're stronger than you think. You always have been." He wanted to answer, to say something back, but the words wouldn't move. They felt too far away. Yet life has a way of sending people exactly where they need to be, even when they don't know it. And for Liam, that place was Maplewood Community Center, where his mother signed him up against his will for a volunteer program that paired teens with elderly residents living alone. Liam didn't want to go. He didn't want to meet anyone. He didn't want to face questions, expectations, or eyes filled with pity. But his mother simply kissed his forehead, placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, and whispered, "Maybe someone else needs your silence as much as you do." And so, silently, reluctantly, and without meeting her eyes, Liam walked into Maplewood for the first time. The center buzzed softly with the hum of conversations, clinking dishes, and distant laughter. Children played in a corner. Elderly folks chatted over cups of tea. Volunteers hurried around with warm smiles, but none of it reached Liam. His gaze stayed downward, glued to the floor, until a soft voice called from behind him. "Are you the new volunteer for room 27? Liam lifted his head slowly. Standing in front of him was a woman in her 50s, bright eyes behind round glasses, hair tied back in a messy bun, clipboard in hand. Her name badge read Ms. Harper. He nodded slightly. "Great," she said with a smile, big enough to warm a room. "Your partner is someone very special. He doesn't talk much either, so you two should get along just fine." Her words were gentle, but they tugged something inside Liam, something he had tried hard to bury. She guided him down a long hallway, lined with old photographs and colorful art made by kids who visited the center. When they reached room 27, she knocked twice and pushed the door open. Inside sat an elderly man in a wheelchair, silver-haired, wrapped in a thick brown sweater, staring through the window as if searching for something only he could see. Sheets of paper lay scattered on the table beside him, covered with lines of shaky handwriting. "This," Ms. Harper whispered, "is Mr. Alden Hayes. He's in his 70s. Lost his wife 2 years ago. Been awfully quiet ever since." Quiet, silent, withdrawn from the world. Something about the man felt painfully familiar. Ms. Harper gave Liam's shoulder a soft squeeze before leaving them alone. Liam stepped inside cautiously. The room smelled faintly of pine wood and vanilla candles. He didn't expect Mr. Hayes to look up, but he did. Their eyes met, and something passed between them. Not words, not pity. Something else. Something shared. A familiarity, a recognition, a whisper behind the silence. Liam lifted a hand in a small wave. Mr. Hayes stared at him for a few seconds, then returned the gesture, just as slow, just as unsure. Then, wordlessly, the old man pointed to the chair beside him. Liam sat, and for the first time in months, he didn't feel completely alone. Their visits began quietly, no talking, no forced conversations, just presence. Sometimes they sat by the window, watching leaves fall like golden snowflakes. Sometimes, Liam helped Mr. Hayes sort old photographs, worn pictures of a life filled with smiles, vacations, birthdays, laughter, and love. Other times, the old man would scribble something on paper, slide it to Liam, and wait for him to read. The first note said, "Thank you for being here." The second, "You remind me of my grandson." The third, "Silence doesn't always mean emptiness. Something inside Liam stirred each time. One afternoon, Mr. Hayes wrote a longer note. You don't have to talk. Sometimes the heart speaks loudest when the mouth stays quiet. Liam felt a sudden warmth spread across his chest, like sunlight breaking through clouds. No one had ever understood his silence. Everyone had tried to fix him, but this man, this stranger, asked for nothing. Over the weeks, Mr. Hayes began telling stories. His voice was soft, raspy, and slow, but it carried warmth that seeped into the cracks of Liam's loneliness. He talked about his late wife Eleanor, about the road trips they took across the country, about the tiny house they built with their own hands, about the laughter that filled their rooms, the dreams they never got to finish, the love that never faded. Sometimes, he would pause, wipe away a tear, and smile as if remembering something precious. And though Liam didn't speak, he listened deeply, intently, fully, and in his listening, something inside him began to shift. One snowy evening, as volunteers prepared to close the center, Liam found Mr. Hayes staring at a photograph of a young couple standing under a cherry blossom tree. My wife loved this tree, he murmured, said the blossoms were whispers from heaven. He handed the photo to Liam with trembling fingers. I never got to say goodbye, the old man whispered, not properly. Liam felt a sudden sting behind his eyes. He didn't know why it hurt so much. He didn't know why the room suddenly felt smaller. He didn't know why he couldn't breathe, until he realized he never said goodbye to his father either. Mr. Hayes wiped his glasses with a tissue. Life is an odd thing, he said quietly. It takes without asking and gives without warning. But the people who show up, the ones who stay, that's where hope lives. He looked at Liam then, a deep look, a searching look. You're one of those people, he whispered. Liam's throat tightened. He wanted to speak. He wanted to say something, anything. He wanted to tell this man he mattered, that his stories mattered, that his presence had reached him in a place no one else could. But the words wouldn't move. Mr. Hayes placed a gentle hand over Liam's shaking one. You don't need words, son, he whispered. Your silence says more than you know. 2 weeks later, everything changed. When Liam arrived at room 27, the door was half open. Nurses hurried inside. Ms. Harper rushed past him. A cold knot formed in his stomach. He pushed the door open fully. Mr. Hayes lay in his bed, pale and still, struggling to breathe. Machines beeped softly. A nurse adjusted tubes with urgent hands. Liam froze. Ms. Harper wrapped an arm around him. He had a heart episode, she whispered. We're not sure how long he has. Liam felt the room tilt. His heart pounded painfully. The world began to blur. He stepped closer to Mr. Hayes, who opened his eyes with effort. Hey kiddo, the old man whispered. His voice was barely audible. Liam grabbed his hand with both of his, gripping tightly, as if holding on for both of them. You showed up, Mr. Hayes whispered, forcing a trembling smile. Thank you for giving an old man a friend. Tears broke free from Liam's eyes, spilling faster than he could wipe them. Mr. Hayes lifted a shaking hand, touching Liam's cheek. Do something for me, he whispered. Liam nodded frantically. Speak again. For you, not for me. For the world that needs your voice. Liam's lips parted. His throat clenched. His breath shook. But still, no words came. Mr. Hayes smiled gently. It's all right. I know you're trying. He squeezed Liam's hand weakly. Just remember, silence can hold pain, but it can also hold healing. And when you're ready, your voice will return. His eyes fluttered shut, and the room went quiet, so quiet that Liam could hear the sound of his heart breaking. Mr. Hayes passed away that night. The center held a small memorial, simple, warm, filled with photographs and handwritten notes from volunteers and residents. When they asked if anyone wanted to share something, Liam stepped forward. Everyone stared. Ms. Harper gasped softly. Even his mother, standing behind him with wet eyes, held her breath. Liam looked down at the floor, then at the framed picture of Mr. Hayes smiling under a cherry blossom tree. He closed his eyes. He felt the weight of silence around him. He heard whispers of memories. He heard his father's voice. He heard Mr. Hayes's voice, and then his voice broke through the silence. It cracked, fragile and raw. I want to say, thank you. Gasps filled the room. Tears streamed down his mother's face. Liam continued, voice trembling. Mr. Hayes, he saved me. I didn't know how much I needed someone who understood silence. He listened, even when I couldn't speak. He showed me that kindness doesn't need words, and he gave me my voice back. He wiped his eyes, took a breath and whispered, "I'll never forget him." The room erupted in quiet sobs and warm smiles, and for the first time in 7 months, Liam felt something more than pain. He felt light. Over the following months, Liam kept visiting the Maplewood Community Center not because he had to, but because he wanted to. He became the volunteer who read stories aloud to residents, helped serve meals, played board games, and really listened to anyone who needed a patient ear. He still had moments when silence felt heavy, but now, he understood something. Silence wasn't a prison, it was a language, a place to beginning, and within that silence lived whispers of hope, of healing, of connection waiting to be heard. One warm spring morning, Ms. Harper found Liam sitting under a cherry blossom tree planted outside the center. Pink petals drifted around him like soft snow. He held a small notebook in his hands, the same blank one that once terrified him. Now, it was filled with words. The first page read, "For Mr. Hayes, thank you for finding me in the quiet." Ms. Harper sat beside him, a gentle smile on her face. "You've come a long way," she whispered. Liam looked up, sunlight shimmering in his eyes. "Someone taught me that even silence holds miracles," he said softly. "And you believed him," she replied. He nodded. "I still do." As the wind rustled the blossoms overhead, Liam closed his eyes and listened. The world was no longer muted, no longer distant. He could hear laughter nearby. He could hear children playing. He could hear nurses chatting. He could hear his own breath. And somewhere, deep in the quiet, he could still hear the voices of the two people who had shaped him in unimaginable ways. His father and Mr. Hayes. Two whispers behind the silence, guiding him, lifting him, loving him, still, and as another blossom drifted into his lap, Liam smiled, a real, full, unbroken smile. Because he finally understood. Even in silence, hearts speak. And sometimes, their whispers are the loudest sound in the world. Spring settled fully over painting the trees with soft shades of pink and white. The Maplewood Community Center began hosting outdoor gatherings again, barbecues, music nights, story circles, and volunteer appreciation days. The place felt alive in a way it hadn't for a long time. Some said it was the warmth of the season. But those who knew the truth said it was something else. The return of a boy who brought hope with him. Even without realizing it, Liam became a quiet legend at Maplewood. He was the kid who listened to every story with full presence. The boy who smiled at the residents with a sincerity rarely found in people his age. The teen who carried grace in his footsteps, empathy in his eyes, and strength in his silence. One afternoon, as he read a story aloud to a small group gathered under the cherry blossom tree, Ms. Harper stood in the doorway watching him. She didn't want to interrupt, she just wanted to witness the quiet miracle unfolding. The sunlight poured over him, illuminating the notebook in his hands, the same notebook he once feared, now filled with chapters of healing. His voice was steady, warm, gentle, a voice that had been lost, but was now overflowing with meaning. When he finished reading, the residents applauded softly. Liam blushed, lowering his head. Even after speaking again, he still carried a certain humility, a quietness that wasn't brokenness anymore, but peace. As the crowd dispersed for lunch, Ms. Harper approached. "Liam," she called gently. He looked up, smiling shyly. "You know," she said, "your story, the way you found your voice, it's inspired a lot of people here, more than you realize." He shifted awkwardly. "I didn't do anything big." She shook her head. "You did something rare. You showed up with your heart open. That's big. That's very big." He looked at the cherry blossom petals gathered at his feet, remembering how Mr. Hayes had once said they were whispers from heaven. "I just wanted to help," he whispered. "And you have," she replied, "in ways words can't measure." She handed him a small envelope. Curious, Liam opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter. His breath caught when he recognized the shaky handwriting. "Mr. Hayes." The letter must have been written before the old man's health declined. With trembling hands and a pounding heart, Liam began to read. "Dear Liam, if you're reading this, it means my time has passed. I wanted to leave you with something more than a handshake or a goodbye. I wanted to leave you with truth. You came into my life at a time when loneliness was louder than my heartbeat. Silence didn't scare me. It comforted me, because in your quiet eyes, I saw someone who understood what loss sounds like. But Liam, listen closely. Grief is not the end of a story. It is the beginning of a new one. I have lived a long life. I have seen storms and sunshine, heartbreak and miracles, endings and beginnings. And if I have learned anything, it is this: love never disappears, it changes shape. Asterisk 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 Your father's love didn't vanish the day he left the world. It shifted, it moved, it found new ways to reach you. Asterisk asterisk And I believe truly, deeply that it led you to me. Liam's throat tightened, his vision blurred, but he kept reading. Asterisk asterisk You helped me feel alive again. You made my remaining days brighter. And you reminded me that even when our voices tremble, even when our hearts ache, we are never truly alone. Asterisk 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 Promise me something. My boy, keep listening, keep showing up, keep being the gentle soul the world desperately needs. And when your voice grows stronger, use it to lift someone the way you lifted me. Asterisk 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 With love, Alden Hayes. Asterisk asterisk By the time Liam finished reading, tears flowed freely down his cheeks. But this time, the tears didn't feel heavy, they didn't hurt, they didn't drown him, they healed him. He looked up at the cherry blossom tree, its branches swaying softly in the afternoon breeze, as if answering the letter itself, as if carrying whispers on the wind. Thank you, Liam whispered, for seeing me, for believing in me. A feeling washed over him, warm, gentle, unmistakably familiar. Like a voice carried on the wind. Like two voices, actually, his father's and Mr. Hayes's, both guiding him, both watching him, both proud of him. And for the first time, Liam didn't feel like a boy searching for something missing. He felt like someone who had discovered something new. A new beginning. Months later, Liam officially became the youngest volunteer coordinator Maplewood had ever had. His story spread through the town, not in a sensational way, but quietly, intimately, the way truths with real depth tend to travel. Teachers invited him to speak in classrooms about kindness and compassion. Local organizations asked him to mentor younger teens. But more than anything, he continued his simple ritual. Every week, he visited room 27. Even though it was empty now, he cleaned the shelves, watered the plant Mr. Hayes loved, and read aloud from his notebook. Sometimes he imagined the old man listening, smiling through the sunbeams. One day, as he finished reading a story he had written about healing, he closed the notebook and looked out the window. Snowflakes drifted gently from the sky. The first snowfall of the season. He watched them fall silently, one by one, like small blessings from above. And without realizing it, he whispered, I hear you, both of you, thank you for your whispers behind the silence. The snow fell thicker now, blanketing the world in white, pure, peaceful, forgiving. And Liam Turner, the boy who once lost his voice to grief, finally understood the message that had been waiting for him all along. Sometimes, the quietest moments hold the loudest truths. Sometimes, the gentlest souls carry the greatest strength. And sometimes, the whispers behind the silence lead us exactly where we're meant to be.